Welcome. Today we will cover the concepts of identification of environmental problem and causes and the tool of fishbone diagram, the procedure and some examples and how or what role it plays in environmental planning. So far we have studied environmental planning and different types of environmental planning. Now to solve or to do any plan or to take action on any issue, the first step is knowing that issue, or to propose a solution to a problem, we need to know the problem first. Okay. So, that is what we are going to see why what is identification of environmental problem and why is it important. Because let us say we have some product or process, and if there is a issue with it, if we get to know what is that issue with that particular product or process which is related to environment, we can come up with a solution which will try to address that. So, first thing is what will happen? It helps us to find the root cause of those issue. So, once we identify the issue, or sometimes it is possible that we may not know the exact issue at all. So, in that case, if we just try to list down all possible causes and then come up with a final designated specific problem, that way also works. But often it happens like many times because of the measurements or observance or some complaints, or the issue is already known to us, and then we try to find a cause of that problem. So, if we know the environmental problem, it helps to find the root cause of those issues. For example, pollution, deforestation, waste, these itself can be the issues or a problem. And now suppose if there is a pollution, what is the cause? Is there a leakage? Is there a gas emission from the chimney? Is the burner efficiency going down if it is not burning the fuel cleanly? Okay. The waste streams ending up into the environment, don't we have a waste treatment or effluent treatment plant in the industry? Okay. Those things would be the causes for these kind of issues. Then once we know the problem, it helps to prioritize the urgent problems. If we have a more than one problem, let us say there are several issues and list of those problems associated with particular product or service, we can prioritize them, which is more urgent, which can take some time to and which are the less urgent one. Then it will help to guide policy, planning and laws. So, once we know the problem, we can think of how we can change some policy and planning to address that problem, so that it does not happen in future. It ensures sustainable development, obviously. It raises public awareness for action. Some of the problems may be realized by the stakeholders outside the company or outside the premises of your organization. For example, like if we live in a college campus and all the municipal solid waste that we collect in the campus, if we just try to throw it beyond the walls of our campus, the problem is not for us, but then the problem is for the nearby community, and if they raise alarm, it will be difficult situation, we will be answerable. Okay. So, knowing these problems will help in public awareness also for action, prevent disasters and risk, and supports global commitments. So, if any organization has committed to some global goals like say Paris Agreement or NDCs, the nationally determined contributions of countries towards net zero, like India has set the target of 2070. By 2070 we would be having decarbonization net zero. So, to contribute towards that those kind of commitments, I think these things help. So, what is the role of fishbone diagram? But before that, like once environmental issues and causes are known, then we can come up with the strategic planning framework to address those issues. Okay. Now, to identify those issues and causes, there is one common or famous tool of quality management, which is called as fishbone diagram or cause and effect diagram or the Ishikawa diagram. Since it was developed by a Japanese chemical engineer, there are varying evidences in the history, like some say it was developed in 1920s or some says in 1940s. Well, it does not matter much, but it was developed for quality control, and the same tool is applicable in environmental planning and management as a cause effect diagram. So, it identifies many possible causes for an effect or problem. So, if there is one effect or one problem, there can be many possible causes, and the representation of these causes and effect is called as fishbone diagram. As the name indicates, it is a diagrammatic representation. So, it is a graphical depiction of hypothesis that could explain the failure under investigation. Since it was for quality control, where the term failure is used, the product, defective product is a failure. Okay. And we can have different hypotheses or different causes why that particular product got defective, why it failed. The similar thing is represented here in the form of figure, where you have causes on one side, effect on other side. Effect is typically a problem in environmental planning, and causes can be categorized under different categories. It can be related to material, it can be related to methods, machines, environment, measurement, manpower. Okay. So, these are basically the primary or the category of causes, and then we can have primary cause, secondary cause, tertiary cause. Okay. Like this line is the primary cause. Anything which is causing the primary cause will be a secondary cause. We can have a tertiary cause. Okay. We can have a fourth clause. It is never ending. Okay. And maybe at times it is possible we can have fishbone diagrams like this. So, basically this diagram or this tool helps to create a brainstorming session and sort ideas into useful categories. Suppose you have a team of experts who are working in the particular area, and we have identified a problem, and now what are the possible causes? When you ask a team full of people, there would be n number of causes being listed down. So, either we can have one simple mouth and then there would be hundreds of causes, but then it will be very difficult to really like understand and bifurcate them. So, it is easy and it becomes like smoother to understand if we could categorize them under different categories. So, once we, instead of listing down causes like this, let us list down causes like this and then try to categorize according to the category. Like these causes are related to machine, it is related to manpower, or whether it is related to policy or framework and all. So, it is through this tool or exercise of brainstorming, we can quickly communicate the hypothesis to team members, customers and management. It is a very simple tool to make our point and explain something to the stakeholder. So, it was earlier in corporate sector, it was used by Toyota, and then they focused on the 6 general categories of material, method, manpower, machine, measurement and mother nature. Mother nature means environment. They just try to keep it with the word starting from M, but this is not like a prerequisite for fishbone diagram. You can have your own categories. Okay. And it need not be even 6 categories, it can be much more than that. Like some people, some companies, they have added 2 more M's in this, which is management and maintenance, which may not come here under these 6 categories. So, it depends what kind of company is it, what kind of problem, what kind of sector we are working in or talking about. The categories, there is no fixed number of categories, there is no fixed name of categories. But if you talk about most of the industries, these are some common terminologies which would be visible there. In any industry which makes any product, there will be some raw material. So, material is going to be one aspect. There would be some machinery which is going to do that production. So, machines would be there. No industry would exist without manpower. There would be laborers, managers, supervisors. So, manpower is there. Doing, irrespective of whether any company, they would be following some operational protocols, some process. So, some methods, those methods are going to be there. Then, since they exist on the mother earth, mother nature or the environmental components are going to play some role in that. There may be some rain, humidity, temperature, wind issue, okay, those kind of things. And then there are some generic thing, additional abstract things like management, maintenance, which can also play a role in creating some issue or leading to some effect. So, if you look at the procedure, let us see how the fishbone diagram is drawn. So, first you write a problem statement or the effect at the mouth of the fish. Okay. If you remember the fish, it is suppose if this is the fish, so this is the mouth of the fish. Here you write the effect. and these are going to be the causes, but effect should be very clear and specific. It should not be vague or like a very generic which will have infinite causes. Okay. Now, once you wrote the effect, you prepare the major categories of causes. Suppose we have 4 major categories of causes. So, then what will happen? There will be only 4 branches like this, because these are the 4 categories. Let me call them M1, M2, M3 and M4. This is the effect, and now these are the causes. Now, we have prepared the fishbone diagram with the effect at the mouth, the categories of causes on the body skeleton side. Now, we need to list down all the causes and find which cause falls under which category, right. So, how do we do that? We ask the question why, brainstorm all the possible causes of the problem. You keep on asking this question, why does this happen? Why does this happen? So, maybe initially you list on 4-5 causes and then try to put it under each category, and once you wrote, let us say 4 causes, C1, C2, C3, C4. Now, think of why C1 happened, why C2 happened, and then you can create sub branches, or they can be called as sub causes. Sometimes it may happen that one particular cause can fall under multiple categories. So, you can write it down. If there is one cause which falls in M1 as well as M2, write that cause at both places. Maybe towards the end, when we finalize our hypothesis, we would realize that it is contributing significantly to one of the categories. So, there from other category we can strike it down. Okay. So, you keep on asking why does this happen about each cause, and keep on writing sub causes for each of the cause branches. Once that is done, you keep on doing, continue to ask why, and that will help us generate deeper level of understanding and causes, and we can organize them later. But the more brainstorming, the more we think about potential causes, it may happen that sometimes we list down several irrelevant or unwanted causes along with the relevant ones. So, that is why when we say we are doing some planning based activity, it is always recommended to do under the supervision of a field expert, some area expert who knows that area, knows that field, and also they have some concrete data, some reliable data on the basis of which those recommendations or brainstorming sessions can happen. So, what will happen because of this, then whatever fishbone diagram we prepare, it will be more realistic and more acceptable. This diagram shows the same thing. First you prepare a statement, write it, or the effect, put it at the mouth, list down the major categories as the skeleton. Now, work out possible causes, analyze the diagram and investigate and check for root causes that need to be addressed. That is the final purpose of that fishbone diagram. Like once we know the root causes, we think what needs to be done. Let us see some examples, so it is more clear. So, here is an example of an employee coming late for work at office. So, that is the thing which is observed as an issue, or let us say it is a effect. Now, what are the causes because of which that particular employee got late for work? It can be categorized under 5 categories. So, in this study they did it in the 5 categories. What are those? Materials, equipment, process, people and environment. Now, see, because it is a very simple example of coming late to work. So, you can see like there is a manpower involved, the mode of transport can be the equipment, okay. The fuel going in that mode of transport can be the material. Since it is a human being commuting from one place to other, the food or breakfast or water which goes into the human being can also go into the material. Then the waking up is a process, traveling is a process. How do you wake up, how do you eat, how do you travel, that can happen in the process or the routine. Then people, there are other people or other people in the family members involved, they may also be one of the causes for employee to get late. And then there is environment, because you will come through the traffic, through the infrastructure which is built on the land, that way environmental factors will also play a role. So, if you look at the materials, you see the fresh milk, petrol, ironed clothes, electricity. So, material need not be always something which is consumed, okay, like clothes which we wear, if it is not ironed, it will take time to iron this. Those are the materials. Equipment, car, toaster, machine, hair dryer. So, see, when I say equipment, it does not include the equipment only which is used for mode of travel. So, if it employee comes by car, the car is one equipment, but then the breakfast it uses toaster. Toaster is or a coffee machine. If it is not working, there would be some time gone in fixing that machine. Hair dryer, if it is not working, hair won't be dried. Alarm clock, if it is not working, person won't wake up. So, there are different kinds of equipment which may contribute to that particular cause under that category. So, you list on all possible equipment. Process, again using alarm clock, doing breakfast, route of work, that is the decision that a person makes, like which route to take, when to start, whether to share car with someone. So, all those things would fall under the process category. In environment, you have road works, potholes, weather, whether it was raining, whether there was lot of traffic, whether there was rail, train service or not. Then people, people means the family members, children and some quality aspects or the welfare aspects associated with the human being who is going to do that activity. So, this is how a clear fishbone diagram would look like. You have a effect, you have different categories and you have individual causes under those category, clear. And as you observe, it is not like everything is not starting from M. You can have your own name for the category, make sure it is correct. Another fishbone diagram, this is for a hydraulic leak. The only difference where I would emphasize here is some of the points you see they are being strike off. Okay. As we saw while understanding the fishbone diagram definition, it is a very good tool for a brainstorming session and making your point to different stakeholders. So, when you prepare this fishbone diagram on a blackboard, ask your team, list down all the problems, this is the effect, there may be some irrelevant causes also. So, those need to be strike off, and if you represent this irrelevant causes being strike off, it also helps and avoids getting the same causes from the team again, because those have been already strike off. The third example is for the leakage in the storage tank, and again it is not at all important to have a very complicated fishbone diagram including all possible activities. If you think something is very specific and you know that okay, these one or two are definitely the causes for that particular effect. So, there can be even one or two, just two or three categories, like here you have leakage in the storage tank. The categories are outfilling, rupture and leak. So, these are three possible categories which we identified from a process or an engineering perspective. So, when we say outfilling, it can be because of operator failure, because of shutting of the wall. Okay. So, there are different ways to represent the same cause effect diagram. In rupture, it can be the breakage of tank or it can be the breakage of reinforcement. In cracks, it can be sufficient or inefficient or insufficient revisions, or it is a management issue, then some corrosions, failure of operator. Okay. So, all those things can cause this leakage in the storage tank. So, now with that, those are different examples of fishbone diagram, how we can use it in the environmental planning. So, in environmental planning or any efficient planning, they will be considering the constraints or resources available to us, and those would include man, materials, machine, ambience, methods, and how they are going to influence that particular environmental burden or a issue, right. So, when we have to consider these many factors, and these factors can be a very good category for a cause effect diagram. So, fishbone diagram can be used to evaluate the environmental impacts also. If we have different products and services, and if there are some alternative products and services, if we have to make a comparison like which of them is better on the basis of environmental impacts. So, this fishbone diagram like tools can be used for it, and then it also helps to improve or do the SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis again is a qualitative analysis where we try to compare strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. Similarly, with when we talked about environmental impacts, we are not calculating the environmental impacts and then comparing. If we have just qualitative understanding of like which impact would be going high, to be higher, which impact is going to be lower, that we can do. So, similarly SWOT analysis, we can use the Fishbone diagram, and it can be used for selecting the product with less environmental impact, and it can also be used for improving the production systems, and it can also be used for comparison between the products or comparison between the systems or comparison between the processes. Whenever we have multiple alternatives and we have to choose which one is better, we can use this Fishbone diagram. But the primary purpose or the application is basically listing down all the possible causes of a problem and then categorizing those causes under appropriate categories, so that it is easy to understand which category we should focus on more. So, the limitation for this Fishbone diagram is, again, it helps in only qualitative understanding of the problem. It does not do any measurement, or it does not talk about quantity or magnitude. Also, it does not talk about what would be the plan of action. Some rough Fishbone diagrams can be used for comparing possible plans of action. Like if we know, okay, this is the solution that we aim to reach for, and these are the ways by which we can achieve that solution, and then let us compare different ways on different basis. So, that qualitative understanding can be there, but the appropriate, what is going to be the plan of action and what that plan of action will involve, that is not given by the Fishbone diagram. Okay. So, that is the limitation. So, we will stop here. To summarize, what we covered in this lecture was, we saw why identifying environmental problem or issue and understanding it is important, and what is the Fishbone diagram tool which can be used as a cause effect diagram. We saw the procedure, how to draw that Fishbone diagram. We covered couple of examples, and as you know, we need not stick to the categories of those 6 M's or 8 M's. You can have your own categories and put all possible causes under those categories, and then we saw how it can be applied in the environmental planning sector and what is its limitation. Thank you.